wake up to Bill Flynn in the morning.
Good morning. It's Bill Flynn, and this is the Love Your Lawn Hour, and we're delighted to welcome back the TurfCommander. His name is Jonathan Rigsbee, and he's with Growing Green. You can visit the website, growinggreen.com, GROWINGREEN. It's the one G between growing and green, and at least in the middle part. And good to see you, Jonathan. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Bill. Great to be here.
One thing I just, as a point, I think so many people can appreciate and recognize. I didn't realize this, and you and I have been working together for a few weeks now. But if you go back to the beginning of the company, Growing Green, you really started with $1,000 in a dream. Is that true?
That's about it. And we kind of lobbied our relationships and our connections in the industry and worked them as hard as we could and got out and kind of beat the street for customers and started growing it from there. Our first office was a 10 by 10 shed and a 10 by 10 office. And it was a little cramped. Now we're in a 10,000 square foot modern facility, and
wow,
it's, we've come a long way, but we've had a lot of help from our customers and great banking relationships and just, a lot of good luck.
That's a great American story of starting, something with very simple and humble beginnings, and not only growing this company, and I'm certainly happy that, you've seen that success, but you've also brought success to other people by employment. I mean, you've got a team, a staff of people that you're working with routinely.
We've got 17 full-time employees right now. All of them have full benefits, health insurance, retirement, short and long-term disability. Mm-hmm. So we think we compete, from a benefit and pay standpoint with the big companies, national companies, and we want our employees to be long-term and happy, and that's kind of what it's about, is developing that family and keeping them.
It really takes a razor edge of business acumen to stay in there, because when you're dealing in an environment where you have large, national, even multinational corporations that are the basis of your competition, they can absorb various increases across a pretty large platform, and it doesn't hit them so directly. But when you get that new healthcare annual bill that goes up, I mean, that's a real wallop there for a small business.
It is, and it's a constant game of juggling, shifting, trying to be resourceful and really getting more out of what we have. That's what it really comes down to, is finding efficiencies in what we're already doing, reconfiguring our trucks, working on our routing, making sure that our guys are as efficient as they can when they leave the office every day. They're not driving around town looking for stuff. And honestly, that's how we've managed to absorb the 30% a year healthcare increases and fuel increases, and everything's up. I had a talk with my banker 2 weeks ago, and he said they're seeing it in every industry right now that expenses are just up across the board, and it's not just one thing, it's everything. The government, taxes, the regulations are driving small business out of business.
Well, and if you look at, and the truth of the situation is that small business is the best economic engine and hope for this country. Being able to move quickly, start up businesses, to be nimble, and as you're talking about, building efficiencies. You don't have time to sit around and experiment for a year and a half. Say, is this going to do better? You need to show that efficiency now.
We do, and the one great thing about our industry is most of the guys, even my own competitors in the area, are open to talking to each other and sharing, not necessarily trade secrets, but just sharing what's working and what's not. I have contacts across the nation that do what we do, and working through trade associations and just finding that information of what somebody else is doing, and because everybody's dealt with the same problems we have. We're not breaking a new mold here, but But you're right. Our main competitors are billion-dollar companies, and we have to compete on that level. We can't go out here with a pickup truck, no markings on the side, and shoddy-looking guys in no uniforms. So we have an image that we have to present, and it costs money to do it.
The customer, is not necessarily focused on how big the company is, and I would like to encourage folks to, look at Growing Green and see it as a local company that is generating, jobs for local people and turning that money back over in our community. And, we see a big push right now for, for local produce, locally even manufactured items, or, there's a brewery in town, a new brewery, and local restaurants may want to stock a local brewer just because they want to help out a neighbor and they got a good product. And Growing Green is an example of that kind of thing in a different line of service.
Well, and that's exactly right. And we're seeing that, I think, across the board with, our suppliers and personally. I mean, we like to shop small businesses that give back to us, and we pick up those people as customers, and in turn we shop in their shop. So it all kind of comes back to each other. And sometimes, you're dealing with these big companies, there's no personal service, and that's what we kind of focus on.
Well, when we're talking about, lawns, and for some people, it's, a lawn is the top priority of their life or right next to it. But for a lot of folks, it's something of a luxury to be able to have. I'm going to have Jonathan's crew come out here and really help me change some things over time, give it a couple of seasons. And you guys have to always make sure that, seems to me, that you're really doing a super service to those people, because there are other options out there. And one of the options is to use nobody if, push comes to shove, I guess. And being really focused on the customer, is that the secret to it?
Well, it is. And back when I started in this business, they used to tell us everybody buys lawn care who owns a home. They're either going to buy it from us, our competitor, the Home Depot down the street, or the local hardware store. Or they're just going to do it themselves and, not really do anything. But we just have to convince them that ours is the best way. And that's kind of the way we look at it. We've engineered our programs and our services to be customer friendly. A couple of years ago, we went to what we call a bundle package, where if customers buy multiple services, we give them discounts, and then we turn them into monthly payments. So they're not getting all these bills at one time. They have a 12-month equalized payment through the year. And that has been a tremendous hit among our customer base. And it helps us because our guys can come to a lawn and do multiple services at the same time. What's
great is when you call up Growing Green, your phone call actually stays in North Carolina. Heck, it stays right here.
Well, it does, and we actually send somebody out to your lawn to measure it, unlike some of our competitors who measure it from satellite.
If you'll hold that thought, we're going to continue with our Growing Green Hour with Turf Commander Jonathan Rigsbee and Growing Green. And loving your lawn is what we're about this hour on AM 980 The Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980. AM 980 The Eagle.
All right, let's face it. We do, in many cases, have a love affair with our lawns. And it sometimes lifts the heart and sometimes can be heartbreaking if we don't get the results we want. And one of the experts here in the field is with us today, the Turf Commander at Growing Green. And by the way, the website, growinggreen.com. Jonathan Rigsbee with us this morning. And I just asked you a question a moment ago off mic. Is it too late now to look at lawn aeration and that kind of thing? That window of time is closing, I know.
Well, we're actually right in the middle of peak season for aeration and seeding. We start doing them on people who are irrigated the end of August, and we'll do them up through the mid-October. It takes about 10 days for our seed to germinate, so you want to get it out now. So we're still booking appointments for late September, early October, but it's definitely the time to get moving. And if you've got a lot of weeds and we need to do a cleanup, then we're definitely pushing that envelope. Mm-hmm. But we still get good results, on into mid-October.
And what is, you say you need that 10 days for germination. what's going on once you aerate a lawn and put down some seed, and are you doing fertilizer at the same time? And what's happening what's the story of the lawn at that point?
Well, first of all, and I want to clear something up. We don't really do aeration so much as we create a seed bed. We've kind of invented our own seeding process, and it's worked really well. And what it does is it's a combination of multiple pieces of equipment. When we come out to a property, our guys carry 2 to 3 pieces of equipment on their truck. They evaluate the property based on soil conditions, weather, and they have a piece of equipment that'll either shake the ground loose into a powder, pull a plug, or just take a slit seeder and cut the seed into the ground. But what we're after is a seed bed, a loose seed bed, and we want to bury the seed. So
how deep, what's the optimum depth? I'm sure you know exactly, but does it depend upon the mixture of the soil and the lay of the land, the light? What is it?
Well, you want to get it. The key with tall fescue is good seed to soil contact. What we do is we put the seed out first, and then we work it into the soil. When you plug and you pull a 2-inch hole and the seed falls in the hole, it's got to grow 2 inches before it gets out of the ground. So you're increasing the chances of it being susceptible to disease, insects. So we want to get it about 1/2 inch deep. The seed that you see on top of the ground when you're done seeding will not grow. You might as well just write that seed off. It's got to get into the soil here to really grow, and that's really the key.
This is great information because I know a lot of the do-it-yourselfers when it comes to lawn aeration are feeling like, if I can plug those holes a little deeper, if I can wet the lawn and get it really almost gushy, mushy, and I can really spike it down 2 inches, 2.5 inches, or whatever that. The length of, and some of these things are about 4 inches long, aren't they? Some of these rentable aerators or home models.
And we've actually got them that'll go 10 to 12 inches. And that's great for relieving the compaction of the soil and breaking up the soil so oxygen can get to the roots. But from a seed to soil contact basis, you've got to get the seed into the ground, not necessarily into that hole. What we do is if you're gonna run an aerator over it, and that's perfectly fine, you've got to make 3 to 4 passes. A lot of people will do it one time, throw some seed on it, it comes up in the holes and never grows, and we call it the pachinko effect. You just see little plots of grass everywhere, and those plots can't spread out and fill in because they can't really till her out. Fescue doesn't have the ability to spread.
It's almost like you've built a silo for that seed, and it's got walls on it, and it can't move out of that. Is that what's happening?
Tall fescue, once it establishes, it will kind of spread a little bit within its own plant, but not like Bermuda and some of the other ones that can spread laterally and fill in the bare spots. So you've really got to work that into the soil, and you're not really looking for the holes as much as you are a nice loose seed bed. Mm-hmm. And that's really the key to a good seeding job. Now, we talked about fertilizer. One of the big myths that we see is a lot of people will lime and put fertilizer out with the seed. It's great to put fertilizer out if you haven't already. Most of our customers are on a continuous program. So what we're doing is we're feeding the soil continuously. So we may or may not put it out the day we seed it. It may have went out a week before, it may have went out a week later, and that's okay as long as the soil's healthy. Now, if you're just starting, it's a good idea to put a starter fertilizer out with it to get that immediate shot of phosphorus and potassium.
And how much of the amount and the type of fertilizer you're using, is that typically a proprietary thing that you may have at Growing Green that would be maybe different from other competitors?
Well, it is. We have our own formulas that we've worked and kind of experimented with. We actually use biologically based fertilizers to help feed the soil and kind of increase that microbial activity in the soil. And that's what really helps keep that soil loose, keep it moving. We're putting a biostimulant down all year long on our lawns, and it's really helping it get ready for seeding by putting live cultures back into the lawn, really kind of creating a nice environment for that seed to grow in.
Now, if you've, in my case, I know that I have, for whatever reason, all of a sudden I see a pretty stout patch of weeds that had gotten by me somehow. And, I mean, is it important to take them out before you move on to this?
Well, and that's something that we always come out and look at first. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Weeds are generally on their downside right now. And sometimes, like with crabgrass or a lot of annual weeds, you're not really going to kill them and get them to go away. They're kind of on their end anyway. They're about 2 weeks away from a frost. So if you spray weed control, it's a 2-week waiting period before you can do the seeding.
I see.
So we kind of make that decision, what's more important, the germination of the seed or turning that one plant brown. And now sometimes we have to. Sometimes it's just too much.
We're going to take a quick break and come back with Jonathan Rigsbee of Growing Green on the Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980. AM 980 The Eagle.
Good morning. It is 9:36. 24 minutes till 10 o'clock. I'm getting a lesson in technology and grass with our guest this morning, Jonathan Rigsbee, TurfCommander at Growing Green. It's a local company and started out with literally about $1,000 and a dream, and now you're employing 17 full-time employees and taking care of a lot of customers, and you got a really nice professional office complex. Your vehicles are beautiful and out there rolling around. I'm sure if you haven't connected with Growing Green, you probably have seen the trucks out there, because you guys, you must put enormous mileage, collectively, just right around here over the years, don't you?
Well, we do, and one of the things that we started doing years ago is letting our sales reps drive their cars home, so they're seen in the neighborhoods on the weekends, and that's helped a lot. We actually track every phone call that comes in, and we get a lot of phone calls off the trucks, the cars.
Did that surprise you at first?
It did. When we started wrapping the vehicles, it was a totally new thing, and we were one of the first ones to really do it around here, and so we kind of got the jump on a lot of our competitors. And now they're coming on board, but it really stands out, and people see the car all the time. And we actually, I like to tell this story, but we actually had a guy come up to my manager in the grocery store, and we decided to kind of go off base one time and wrap a black car instead of the green ones. And he come up to my manager and he said that he really, really loved the look of the green car, and he was very disappointed that we went away from that to the black car, and he wasn't even a customer.
Well, I bet you anything he was a NASCAR fan.
He was, and that was the whole premise behind the way we did it, was to kind of play off the NASCAR theme.
Uh-huh. Well, it's a great thing, and we should give the phone number. I see it on the side of the car that I'm looking at, the image of 854-7999 is one of the options you can dial.
It is. That's our local number. And then, of course, 1-866-LAWN-HELP. If you're out of the area, it's toll free.
Well, that's 1-866-LAWN-HELP. One of the things that you've got going on, if you go to the Growing Green website, it's GROWINGREEN.com. You find you've got all kinds of social media that's going on. Can you do business today without Facebook, without YouTube, without Pinterest, or anything else that you're doing out there?
I really think that today's consumer is so technologically savvy that you're shooting yourself in the foot by not being on social media. One thing we see a lot is we'll do a conventional mailer, and then I can go to our website analytics and see the spike on the website, and then we kind of follow their trail, and they'll go to the website, then they'll go to social media, then they'll come back to the website and fill a contact form out. And they may tell us that they saw our car. That may have been what drove the initial contact. It takes about 6 marketing impressions to drive a phone call. And so we've got multiple things going on at once, and they kind of all work in conjunction with each other to make that customer want to call us. And I mean, we still get calls from people saying they found us in the phone book. We haven't been in the phone book for 15 years. Or they saw us on TV, and we haven't been on TV for a while. So you don't really know what's going to drive that phone to ring, and you've got to have a multiple two of the things. But the other big thing it does is it helps give you legitimacy. When people get a piece of advertisement or somebody gives their name, I think the first thing people want to do is go to the internet and see if they're a legitimate company and see how good their website looks, how good their social media presence is.
I think that website and that structure of all of these representations of your company, all of them got to be solid. All of them have to be, the website has to look good, has to be work quickly, and all of that. And I think a lot of people do. That's the new business card today is your website. It really is.
It is, and it has to be refreshed, and it has to be constantly moving, and you've got to have new material there all the time. And I've got a great team. We use a company called Creative Edge out of Winston-Salem, and Mary and Tracy do a great job keeping things moving, keeping things fresh, changing the headers, changing the look, changing everything to just make it so people want to come back and see it again.
And if you would talk about it as a resource for your customer base, I mean, the things you talk about, the blogging you do, and you got YouTube's up here, additionally, to explain where the company is, what's going on with the company and what's going on at this time of year. Talk about how the customers are using these web products that you got out there.
Well, one of the biggest things we have is if you go to our website and you're a customer, you can actually view your account online. You can pay your account. You can buy services. One thing we have to do is we have to compete with billion-dollar companies on the same level technology-wise. And we can't be antiquated and say, well, you've got to send us a check. We have to take credit cards. We have to, be up to date with those things. And, the website's obviously a great starting point. So you can come to our website and pretty much learn everything you want to know about what we do. And we kind of do that. A lot of people say, well, why do you put so much information out? And my answer to that is, well, it's not a big secret. What we do is not rocket science. We sell a system and we sell a process. We don't sell fertilizer and we don't sell grass seed. We sell a system that you put all these things together and you get a nice lawn at the end. But if you miss a step in between, you're going to see it.
Well, and I think back, we were talking about aeration. We were talking about putting seed at the right level and making it attractive. And you can actually get a good start. But if you don't do the next procedure or do the long-term approach, the gains that you're seeing are just kind of going to be, oh, that was a nice show, now it's gone.
Well, exactly. And one of the things we hear a lot is, well, I seeded in the fall, mm-hmm. It came up great, and then it died. Well, and I like to use the analogy of, you don't eat twice a year. If you ate twice a year at the buffet, you would not do very well. And that's what your lawn is. It's a living plant. It needs food constantly. It needs care constantly. And honestly, with our environment changing so much, it's tougher than ever to grow tall fescue in this area. And when I started in this business, we didn't do fungicides on our lawns. Now it's almost impossible not to have somebody on a fungicide program because of the disease pressure that we deal with. So it has to be, they have to be on a program consistently. And mine's not the only one. You can do one from, Home Depot or Lowe's or any of them, or competitors. But if you're not on a consistent program year-round, you're not going to get the results.
Okay, we're going to come back with our final segment with Jonathan Rigsbee, Growing Green, in just 2 minutes on AM 980 The Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980. AM 980 The Eagle.
Always glad to see Jonathan Rigsbee, TurfCommander with Growing Green. And this is one of those critical windows of time for your lawn here. And if you're one of those people that, at some point you start paying more attention to your lawn. Maybe when you're in your 20s and you're renting an apartment, it's not so big of a deal. But when you get your own place, or maybe even, even if you're renting a nice home with a lawn, and you want to have something that's nice, it looks good, it feels good to your feet, and to, if you ever want to be outside and have a pickup game of kickball or softball or, touch football or whatever, it's nice to have that and have it at the ready. And so right now there's some things we should be doing. We've been talking about seeding some, and Jonathan, do you ever get those calls from customers, maybe of one of these other providers of lawn care service, and these customers just, for whatever reason, haven't been fully satisfied with that experience, whether it's because they're not local or because they just haven't gotten the results they're looking for? Do you get those calls, and how do you handle them, and what do you tell them?
Well, we get them all the time, and we actually live off of the cancels of one of our national competitors. And one thing about them is they have the brand recognition. When people move into the area, they know who they are. They call them. And a lot of times they're not happy. That's not what they're looking for, and then they'll call us because somebody's told them who we are and a neighbor. And then it makes it a lot easier for us to kind of take care of them.
Why is that easier? Because they understand what a company should be doing, or
well,
can do?
I think they've kind of broken the ice. And the one thing about the national companies, and I give them credit, they invented the industry back in the 70s, and now the small companies are refining it. And one of the things they'll do is they'll come in and they'll give them high expectations and low results, and then that allows us to come and be realistic with them and say, look, this is not pie in the sky. This is how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what it's going to cost. And we're competitive with them price-wise, and generally, apples to apples, I can beat just about any homeowner from a price standpoint of them doing it themselves. Our seed and fertilizer right now, we're selling it to customers who want to do their own seeding. It's cheaper than what they can buy in the big box stores, and it's better quality. So,
one year I did just a self-experiment at, what it cost me to rent, because I don't have anywhere to keep, professional equipment around. So if I want to get something, I'll rent it. And by the time I rented things, and by the time I bought, things for the yard, I would have saved myself half a day at least by the time I go to the store and come back and do, maybe a day. It would have been cheaper to have a professional do it.
Not only would it have been cheaper, it would have been guaranteed.
Yeah.
And that's the other big thing that we tell our customers. If it doesn't come up, we come back at no charge and redo the areas that don't come up. If you do it yourself and the rain washes it away or it doesn't come up, it's on you to go rent that plugger again, redo it all, and you don't know what you're getting. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the seed quality, and if you're planting weeds out there, you're creating more of a mess than you are anything else. But honestly, to your point, we're giving you your weekends back, and that's what we're really selling our consumers and our customers is their time. They don't have time with their busy schedules and their kids to go out and spend all weekend in the lawn trying to learn another career, how to have a nice lawn.
Or in some cases, even if you do enjoy doing these things, and if you try to find the time, it's time where you may want to spend it somewhere else. It may be something comes up and you want to hop in the convertible and go for a ride halfway across the state. And if you're obligated to, doing something that weekend at the house, you've lost that option.
Well, you have, and the weather plays a big role in it, and honestly, our customers want to have their lawns for their kids on the weekends and their family to enjoy. And if you're out working in it, you're spraying stuff and you've got to store that product, it's just a hassle that most people don't want anymore. And we're seeing more and more people understand the value of a service like ours. But we've got to deliver, and it puts a lot of, on us to make sure they get the results that we're promising. And we work really hard to ensure our customers are satisfied.
I do want to make sure we don't leave anything out about the seeding process, because this is such a critical time for the seeding process and then the follow-up visit. So if you would make sure we have a real good handle on that for right now, and what Growing Green is doing and recommending to your customers.
Well, and one thing that I always tell you, Bill, we're not here just to say, hey, we're the only solution. But whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to hire somebody, you need to go ahead and get your lawn seeded now within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Get some fertility to it and get it growing before the winter gets here. About 2 months, you're going to have leaves falling. You're going to have to keep off of it. You don't want to start playing catch up by seeding in late October. And spring seedings do not work. So if you wait till next spring, you're going to be chasing your tail.
Why don't they work? It seems like it'd be the perfect thing. But.
Well, the problem in our areas is by the time the seed comes up and gets a root system down, it gets so hot that it just generally burns it out. And if you do seeding in the spring, you can't do any pre-emergent for crabgrass or any weed control. So you may get the grass up, but you're going to get more weeds with it, and then they're going to choke your grass out. So, it's a system and a process. We would almost rather you start in the spring. If you come to us and say, hey, I don't have much grass, let us see what you have, get it healthy first, clean it up, get the weeds out, then do a good seeding in the fall. But if you're ready to go now, it's critical to get a good seeding this year. And with the rain that we're getting, next year we could be back in a dry pattern. So this is about the best year I've seen to seed, and we're right in the window. So if it's something that you'd like for us to come look at, give us a call at our office or send us a response on the website, and we'll come out and do a free evaluation, and we'll be very honest and upfront about it.
And that the number is 1-866-LAWN-HELP. That's 1-866-LAWN-HELP. You could also go to the website. I know a lot of people like to research, especially if you're new to them, what your company's up to. And the website growinggreen.com will give you some very good insights. It's growingreen.com. And what is happening when you put that seed in right now? It's popping. How long does it take to pop the root out before you talk about the growing it has to do before winter gets here?
Well, we like to get 2 mowings on it before the wintertime gets here. And so you really need to get it up now. It takes about 10 days to germinate, about another month to really start sending the secondary root system down and tillering out, which is when it spreads. And so what we do is we would put a fertilizer out sometime around the seeding, 30 to 45 days later, and then one going into the wintertime to really put it to sleep for the winter and also help it store carbohydrates for the spring.
And in that wintertime sleep or the dormant window, is almost nothing going on with that plant, or what's happening?
Well, it's still growing roots, and that's what's important. It's still growing roots. It's developing the root system. You may not get a lot of top growth, but you definitely need that root growth, because when it comes in the spring, that's what's going to sustain you for the rest of the year.
One of our callers has asked a question: how long until weeds look killed? I'm not sure the best way to answer that question.
Well,
how long before they really look like they're gone if you've treated?
The one thing you have to understand about weed control is most of the weed control products make the plants grow themselves to death. They speed up the cellular process in the plant. So a lot of times they'll actually look like they're growing faster. So a lot of the products, most all the weed control products have a 2-week window to seed, but you will see results within a few days generally. I mean, sometimes even a few hours that the plant is starting to kind of wilt and curl.
So you're aging the weed, essentially, what you're doing. You're aging it out?
You're basically expending its life cycle.
Wow.
You're running it through its life cycle in a faster process.
Had no idea.
And all the weed controls work a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one now that's that actually prevents chlorophyll from producing, and it turns them white. You're starting to see around town white lawns right now, and that's a product that's basically prevents chlorophyll from producing. So but definitely, you should see results of any weed control product within 1 to 3 days.
What's your opinion of if you do just have a handful of weeds, yanking them out or popping them out of the ground? Is that advised?
If you're going to want to seed now and you've got big plants and you can pull them up, that's great. Like I said, with the 2-week window, you've got to get moving on it. A lot of times we'll tell people just to scalp their lawn to the ground and let us seed it, and that'll put those weeds in the shock. The frost will kill a lot of them, and we can deal with the weeds in the spring.
Okay. Well, I want to thank our time's gone, but Turf Commander Jonathan Rigsbee with us this morning. growinggreen.com, the website, the phone number for this, really the next couple of weeks. This is the time to do it. 1-866-LAWN-HELP. Laura Ingram's coming up next.